Buenas a todos y bienvenidos a Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, episodio número 22. Vamos a ver cómo es este, seguramente antepenúltimo episodio de la serie. No estoy nada seguro. Vamos a ver qué tal. A ver, que pillamos un montón de pruebas nuevas y ahora toca ver. So, what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as focused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time. And a different suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana? Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So, how would it go? It's as Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck the plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But Lana, don't tell me you... Much to my regret, I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Mrs. Sky, We found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department evidence room. They belong to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Blood-stained fingerprints, to be exact. That's a trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards very well dealt. Isn't that right, Mrs. Sky? Do you want... Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. Muy bien. A las 10 de la mañana, venga, va. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is... I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the same time. But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared. Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Wow. This is one messed up trial. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now, that's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait. Very well, let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? ¿Cómo? El Markings? Oh boy! Things are getting wild from the get-go. Or from the... Madre mía, Rock Lee. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir, I'm Officer Mike Meekins, sir. My occupation is... That would be murderer, sir. You're telling us you are a professional killer. Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it. I'll never kill anyone again. Sir, you've got to believe me, sir. Actually, what... Sir, what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. A person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me, sir. Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. Give us your report of the crime. Consider that an order. Yes, sir. As you wish. After all, I am part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir. You can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. Rock Lee, dime, crime report, sir. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life. Then I did it. After that I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. Ha cambiado un poco la historia, ¿no? Do unto to the others before they do unto you. That's the Meekings family motto, sir. I see. And you fainted, and a colleague helped you regain consciousness. Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. Defense may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. Ok, vamos a presionar un poco. What did you do? What exactly do you mean by you did it? I know I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. You took his knife? I spun him around and performed a disarming maneuver. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. I see, he must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of blood, and then the next thing I knew, yes, he punched me right in my face, sir. After that I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I wasn't conscious. Oh, right. According to the reports from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. He hit me right in the head too. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir. The Blue Badger, sir. I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand. Now we can all rest easy now. This is what he was telling us yesterday. Well, we need to try and skim more details from him from start. What was an officer doing from the... Hay que presionarle al principio. Quita, por aquí. Mr. Meekings, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir. I am in charge of hiring new recruits, sir. Yikes, now there's a scary thought. Evidence transferal was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir. The lovely police mascot created by the Chief of Detectives, sir. Madre mía. I was too sure it wasn't broken during the transferal process. That was my sole mission for the day, sir. I see, sounds like a very important mission. After the war ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there? Será este, pero entonces salió a las 5:15. Vamos a presionarle aquí un poco. In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one right here around my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed on here, right? There it is, I found it! This is the one right here. Would you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's el 49-89-596. I see, the number is shown as being used twice. Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. The first time is when I relocated Blue Badger to the evidence room, and the second time is when I went to go get him after everything settled down. I see. So it was during that second time when... Yes, sir, that was when I spotted the man on the security screen. Vale. I was only doing what I was trained to do, and I only got that. It was a knife, sir, a knife. Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you. What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if you just keep your cool, your hand wouldn't be. When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honor. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered? Really the victim? He's got the point. Yes, Officer Meekins? With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me just this morning, sir. The chief? Delivered it? What is that? A videotape? Yes, sir, that's absolutely right. Esto me suena a trampa que flipas. What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and I was told I had been mistakenly erased. That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like the communication with the police department is as good as ever. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using the word murder, sir. It scares me. A video of a real murder. Just what are we getting ourselves into? Cuidado con el Kung Fu, eh. Hostia, se viene, eh. Menuda prank. No se le ve la cara en ningún momento. Se viene. ¿Cómo se ha ido? ¿Por dónde puñetas se ha ido el pavo? No comprendo. Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the hell was that wriggling piece of pilewood? Sir, that is the pride and joy of the entire criminal affairs department, sir. It's the Blue Badger, sir. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Madre mía. Yes, well, anyway, this tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter someone. In the evidence, Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, the witness testimony will suffice. Is that all right with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. ¿Quién es este hombre? His face can't be clearly seen in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. The locker he opened is in question Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. Each detective has been given a locker equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing, that would mean the victim at the crime scene would have been Detective Goodman. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Hay que contradecirse a esto, venga. Prepárate, Tete. A ver. Tell me, were you able to get a good look at him? At the face of the man who attacked you with a knife? Thus, sir, if you must label people as have seen or not seen, I believe it would be not seen? The latter, but you were standing right in front of him, were you not? More to the point, you are the person who fought him, aren't you? Oh yes, sir, but I didn't get a clear look at his face, sir. I'm not the kind of guy who looks directly at people when talking with them, you see. Yeah, that's a good trait for a police officer. Still, I'm sure it was him. I'd bet my badge on it. But you don't know that for sure, do you? You never actually saw Detective Goodman's face. Well, I suppose you might say that. That is, if you must label seen not seen. Yeah. Oh, why is everyone looking at me? If I had to label your stares as disturbing or... Yes, we got it. Makings! Having been shown a questionable video at best, we are not in the best of moods. Now please be more certain when you testify. Yes, sir. You claim the man who brandished a knife on you was Bruce Goodman. Tell us why you are positive it was him. He opened the locker? About these lockers, is there no other way to open them? No, sir. I myself tried all kinds of methods in the past. They only respond to registered fingerprints, sir. I wonder what kind of methods he has tried. If the man opened the locker's lock, which only responds to its registered fingerprints, then he must be the person the locker was assigned to. Exactly my point, sir, and this too. The locker he opened is unquestionably... How do you know that information? I've heard rumors, sir, from people in the know, sir. People in the know? The workers in the apartment cafeteria, sir, they keep me informed. They also listen to my romantic troubles, sir. For the record, the open locker did indeed belong to Detective Goodman. I verified this through a more reliable source. So the victim opened the locker with his own fingerprint. However, the most important detail is not shown in this video. The man's face. Sir, if I may say something, sir, please do. After all, you're the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock. And it was his hand that tried to thrust my knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. Yes, you have a point. The footage doesn't lie. That is... unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. There's a problem. In the video contained on this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange. This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman. What? This is a contradiction? Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth, I propose we have the defense point out just this alleged contradiction in the video. You want me to point it out? Very well, proposal examined. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction. Speak of. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. Now then, yo creo que es al final, que no sale. Ahí. Ha caído un guante de ahí. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Yes, that is strange. Something certainly seems unnatural about that. What could it mean? Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Wright, but you seem to have forgotten the point of this exercise. The point? What you're looking for is one thing and only one thing. Oh, so anything else that may not be that Goodman. Oh yeah. Ooh, I almost walked right into the defense trap. I'll place him under arrest, sir. Rats. I need to slow down and tackle these things one piece at a time. Now, what do I do? A ver, ha caído un guante ahí. Yo creo que es eso, no sé qué estoy haciendo mal. Es decir, realmente no lo ha abierto él. Mira esto. Ya estaba abierta. ¡Pum! Mira cómo... ¿Qué golpe ha metido en la mesa? The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this, Officer Meekings. Sir? Did you mean me, sir? As I understand it, the locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint if it's a match. The light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. Capichi, ¿no? No puedo hacer nada, ¿eh? Ay. Venga, va. When the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker, let's rewind to a little earlier. Madre que me parió, Phoenix. No seas tan lento, tío. Que vaya mierda de cámara de vídeo, ¿eh? Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit? Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle. Dios, machacado a Rock Lee. Order, order! What's the meaning of this? It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker was unlocked on the day of the crime. But the locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When a door is shut, a sensor is triggered, and the locker is automatically locked. Oh, I know, it must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Oh well, it just goes to show novices should keep their mouths shut. So, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation? Me, Your Honor? Yes. Why wasn't the locker locked? Pero bueno, que yo ya lo sé. Yes, 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 déjame volver a darle el vídeo. Pause, no, rewind. A ver. Este guante, tete. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. ¡Ay, mi madre! ¡Otra vez! Phoenix, tete. Por favor, ¿eh? Ya no sé cómo tengo los pelos. ¡Noni! What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out of when doors are opened. I often fall out that... Que te calles! We can be sure that item was completely inside the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door? Inserted? Hostia puta con el vídeo, que me están dando ganas de romper el vídeo y decir, ¿podemos avanzar un poquito más? Por favor. Please. It wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. You do. 2 out of 3 times it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me. But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Not only that, it would also have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator. Yes, an insulator, but at the crime scene, there just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, by insulator you mean? I think I finally got... Déjame presentar el guante. Mira, 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 mira este insulator. Pum, 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 pum. Tengo más. Madre mía, pero ¿cuántos tengo? Aquí, presento. I found this near the locker, a thin rubber glove. But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker. It has a tag that says SL9 incident. The video seems to depict the victim opening the locker. But that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to it. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is this not so, Officer Meekings? Sir! It would appear so, sir. Madre mía, Meekings. Relaja. Order, order! So we are to believe then that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman? Do not be misled, Your Honor. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekings, please testify about this. You, sir, me? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. You mean that, sir? Of course, sir. Is it a joke? Very well, begin your testimony. Mystery Man number 2. There's one other thing that proves that man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used this card. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. Bruce Goodman, E.L. Meekings. That's 5:14. Just before the crime, Yes, without doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transfer. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand to an end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon. Right, I see. Now let us move on to the cross-examination. Hay que presionarle en todo a este pavo, tío. No sé qué más pueden querer. A ver. Preso. So, like your earlier testimony, you believe this to be rock solid, do you? Yes, sir. Solid as stone, sir. My hand wasn't wrapped in bandages. I'd even give the V for victory sign. Couldn't he use his right hand for that? Let's hear him out fully. As we've seen, one never knows what he might say until the very last second. Is that card hanging from your neck one of these ADs? Yes, sir. This card right next to my cuff, sir. I keep it here so I won't even ever forget it. But what if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck. Remember when I said 2 out of 3 times my tie gets stuck when I get out of my car? Well, the remaining time it's my ID card gets stuck instead of my... Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer has only one ID card. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this. Please proceed with your testimony. There's a record of it, vale? It be noted that this is the record the witness referred. You see, yes, that would be Detective Goodman. What's the matter? According to this, Mr. Edgewood, your name is on here. Yes. So it is, Your Honor. Not that prosecutor again. Hey, maybe he's behind all this. Being a prosecutor, he could hide the evidence. Shh, don't stare at him. You've got it wrong. It would seem the inquiry committee will want to speak with you again today. I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. For now, let us continue with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth, it must be so difficult. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir, he didn't show me any ID card. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't be any reason to draw a knife. Maybe he just panicked? Everything stems from... Let's point them out. What do you think? I'm confused. What? The problem with this ID card system is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show them what we've got. Hay que presentar alguna prueba. Esto es lo único que... ¡A la primera! ¡Madre mía! Después de comerme el coco, la he acertado. Wait one moment, Officer Meekings. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I had the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. A lost item report. It's only half completed, but it shows that the woman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess, you believe this something to be his ID card, right? You can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. On the day of the crime, the woman was not carrying his card. Order, order! So now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID. Order, order, order! Does the prosecution have a response? I want only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo! Allow me to summarize the defense argument. At 5:15 on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes. What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is, well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't going to end well. Well, it seems you've finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means a murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot at the prosecution office, the murderer being Miss Lana Sky, the defendant. The evidence is compelling, a trustworthy witness. Observe the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. Yeah. Hazle ese, Phoenix. Hazle un... I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was a trap from the beginning. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something or else, Lana. What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this mess? Object. Boom. Siempre ante la duda, object. One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. Es que desaparece después. No ha salido de la habitación. No hay nadie más. No ha salido, es que no es viable. No puede haberlo hecho. Caca. However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor. If this court were to examine further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. Maybe my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Mr. Wright, do you mean, Your Honor? The defense would like to request a specific witness. Oh, whom do you have in mind? Someone we have the reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind activities that took place in the evidence room. The prisoner requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would want to testify, what is his or her name? Jake Marshall. Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? I can't let you know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prisoner agrees to the defense request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, blah, 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 we shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Okay, very well. This court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is noted. Will the prisoner please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court is now in recess. Madre mía. Seguimos para bingo. There's no stopping you in there, Mr. Ryan. Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you've figured everything out. Ah, I haven't figured anything out. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma? You always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. Dios, pero qué hostia le daba a esta pava. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Madre mía, Gamshu, puto amo. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gamshu. What is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you called me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, detective. You better be, pal. Hey! ¿Cómo? I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Sky. That's okay, so have you brought what I asked? Oh, you mean this, right? Saca. No hay que hacer bromas. My apologies, detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the ESL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. ESL9 incident? But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might do well to read them. I can't believe you, the Chief Prosecutor, were a witness in that case. Mrs. Sky was a witness? Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what? Now that I brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Emma, but why? Why is your name in here? What? My name is in there? I don't know, unless... No, it couldn't be, Lana. This SL9, is that... That's the classification number the police filed it under 2 years ago. The rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings. The... Joe Mama? No, Lana! Joe who? Joe Mama! Emma, wait! Ah, you know what? I just remember I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. I'm sure. Jake Marshall, Angel Star, Demon Gang, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma Sky. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you might just be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I better take a good look at this file. To be continued. Madre mía, ¿qué va a pasar ahora? ¿Cómo va a seguir el tribunal? Lo sabremos en el próximo episodio de Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Muchas gracias por ver el episodio. Espero que os haya gustado, que lo hayáis disfrutado. Y nos vemos en la próxima con más y mejor. Hasta la próxima. Adiós.